Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind at half-time. My name's Kevin Graham and I'm joined by Laura and Brian. Laura, I'll come to you first. What did you make of that first half?
A lot of pleasant surprises, I have to say. I was really expecting us to have a bit of a tense one. But if you told me before the match that we'd come out of the first half 1-0 up and having scored from a set piece, I'd have taken it all day.
Definitely, Brian. What's your early thoughts on the first half?
Yeah, pleasantly surprised we're winning. I think the drop off in quality is quite clear to see. I think, but I think there's been a few bright sparks. I think Liam Scales has done well. You know, I think him and Montgomery down the left hand side. The right hand side we've been really poor going forward though. Big Urigide's looked all right defensively, but he's offering nothing going forward. Abada, he looks really short in confidence to me. He's actually looking. He looks now like backup to James Forrest as opposed to a replacement. And Sorrow, got a few thoughts about Sorrow, but I dare say we'll get.
My take on it was we were really, really good, the better side for the first 15 minutes. Then Betis kind of came into the game a bit and they've been cutting us open quite a bit. Scott Bain has had a couple of saves. But for me, the players who are standing out tonight are the players that are already in and around the first team. The ones that look like better than the other fringe players that have been brought in. Laura, do you think that's a fair comment, or am I being harsh on guys like Scales and not Scales? Scales looks the actual part. Truthfully, he does. But like Shaw and Uragide, bearing in mind that they've never been near the first team all this season.
I think Shaw and Uragide look like two players who are short on match time and short on fitness because of it, and just look as if they're, for want of a better phrase, a bit off the pace. I don't think they've done anything necessarily wrong or showed themselves up in any way, but they just don't look like they're quite at the races, if you want to say it that way. I'm particularly gutted for Ayeti, actually, because I thought he was doing all right before he got injured. I don't know what he would offer to us in terms of goals, but certainly he seemed to be proving himself as a physical presence up front. He was bullying their defenders off the ball, winning the ball high up in the pitch, putting pressure back on them, which is all stuff that Ange will be happy with. So I was disappointed to see him go off on 2 points. One, obviously, for his own game and for his own chance of being in the team, but also the fact that we're now in a situation where Furuhashi should really have been getting a rest and is now going to have played the majority of the match by the time the game finishes. So, I would generally agree with what you're saying about the majority of the good players being the ones that are already in and about the first teams, but I don't think anybody's given themselves a showing up by any means so far.
I don't think so. I think we've actually worked hard and the effort in the team's fantastic. Look, if somebody was going to tell me that this team was going to be 1-0 up against Real Betis on the 8th of December. Is it the 9th of December today? I'd be like, really? Are you sure about that? So I've got to take real positives about that. Need to talk about the goal. We scored for a set piece, Brian. And it was a decent ball in for Abada and a fantastic header from Stephen Welsh.
It really was. I thought Welsh had a really good first half, actually. I thought he's been really aggressive. He's very vocal. His passing's been pretty good. And yeah, we spoke pre-match. Delighted for him to get the goal. I think it was really, really nice to see how much it meant to him as well. So, I said, as you say, Kev, delighted we're winning against Betis. We would have took that a million years. But you can see where. But what I will say, actually, so the players that we're saying aren't really like Shaw or Urigide, to be fair, they have improved since we saw them last. You can see that improvement in their game, certainly. I just don't. You can see the passing quality isn't there. Sorrow's passing quality is almost non-existent now. How he missed that easy ball through to Kyogo is beyond me. Question about that. Also, the incident where he was booked when he had the tangle with the boy. Why did he get booked? Because surely if the referee sees that, it's a red. Surely if the referee, I don't think it was a red, right? But if the referee's booking him, what is he booking him for? If it's for lashing out, then he's got to be off. Because he was going to get fouled, so I don't get what the booking was for. Maybe
I think when he lashed out, he was nowhere near the guy when he lashed out, like some of his tackles at times. He was nowhere near him. But I think the referee took the old dead rubber referee line where I'm just going to book both of them and just move on. Laura, what's your general feeling about the game now? I mean, I think, for me, having a look at it, I think we've went long a couple of times. We beat on and McCarthy, both trying long balls out to Montgomery out on the left-hand side. I've seen McCarthy try this a couple of times. It's maybe not come off for him, but it's something I'm sitting here having a look at going, that is a weapon that we can actually use at times, that long ball, because he has actually got an accurate pass on him. And something that the commentator says on the stream that I'm watching anyway, I didn't realise he played in the last 16 of the Europa League with Everton. I didn't realise that.
One part of me thinks it is hard to believe, but then he played for Everton for so long that you think there must have been a point at which they would have been in the last 16, so it does make sense. As for the long balls over the top, I think Brian and I touched on it when we were doing the match coverage of the Charity Weekender. It seems to be a tactic that's getting used more and more as the games are going on, both the long balls out wide and the long balls over the top. They don't seem to have been through the middle, I should say. They don't seem to have been doing the ones through the middle tonight as much before Kyogo came on, perhaps because Ayeti's not the type of striker to run onto the ball like that, but I could see us doing that more through the middle in the second half. And McCarthy does have the range of passing that you think if anybody's going to be able to do those types of balls either out wide or through the middle, it's going to be him. But I'm quite encouraged to see it, to be honest, because, you know, you talk so often about a manager having a philosophy and a process and all that we talk about Ange having, but what you don't want to become predictable. Mm-hmm. He's obviously got this high pressing game and this game where we attack constantly, but up until now he's almost played the same way a lot of the time. He's now done a full round of the domestic teams, a full round of the European teams. It's good to see him bringing in something else so that for every team that thinks, we've got them figured out, we'll be going into the next game against them with something different to show them.
Definitely. Being the B comments on YouTube, really impressed with this group of players turning up and this way. Real credit to them. It has been a credit to them, and it's been a credit to the manager. And AGIS Technology, I think passing fluency isn't there, but that's all it's missing. There has been decent movement off the ball. Laura, that's what I'm going to say. I can see this first 11, even though it's a mismatch and some things are not quite clicking, you can actually tell it's an Ange side.
Yeah, and that encourages me from the point of view of I saw a piece by somebody, forgive me, I forget who they were on Twitter, but it even seems to be extending into the B team and the youth teams, and that's that kind of Barcelona way of thinking of we're going to get every team in the club to play the same system, so as that if, as in a situation tonight, you've got players coming into the team, they know what their role is and what role they're being asked to play, and they can do it maybe not as well as the first team players, but certainly well enough that the rest of the team can carry them through.
Brian, would you agree with that? It does look like a Postecoglou side. Look, we know everything's not coming off, and everything's not going to come off because of the nature of the side that we've put out there. But when you see Scales playing in that inverted fullback role, you go, you're getting this big man. You're actually getting what's actually going on here. You see Montgomery as well on the left hand side doing what the normal wingers and that do. The team have bought into Ange Postecoglou's side, and that's shown in that first 45 minutes.
Aye, absolutely. And as I say, even some of the players who maybe don't have the quality of the regular starting 11, the endeavour's been there. You can see that they know where they're supposed to be in the park. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They may not have the natural ability to do a lot of it. You can see it's there. You can see it. And as I say, even based on the players, even Ayeti has improved since we saw him at the start of the season. Although we've only saw him in flashes, but his work ethic tonight was excellent. It really was. I mean, he pulled his hamstring, closed in the keeper, which is the least Ayeti thing I think I've ever heard. But he's done it, you know. And as I say, I do. You can tell there's players playing at a position though. Like Urigidi to me looks like a centre back playing at right back.
Yeah.
Aye.
He really does, because he's when he's shone in the game, it's when he's been chasing back with that real, that pace, that strength in defending. But outside of that, he's never a right back for me. I'd actually like to see Beaton. I'd actually take Sorrow off, move Beaton into the middle of the park, push Urigiri in and get Juranovic on, because we're offering nothing in that right hand side. Everything good is came either through the middle or the left hand side, and most of the attacks have came against the right hand side. So there's definitely no a great balance to it. But again, all things considered, you can't be too unhappy, can you? At that, you'd bit the hand off someone for that pre-match.
I'm going to bring up this one. Tostakoglu Junior. McCarthy is ranked rotten. Monty is P. Abada murder. That's very harsh. You've got to consider that. You've got to consider the bigger picture of the fact is we're playing in a dead rubber game, playing a load of fringe players, and what we're in the middle of. This is a massive, massive picture here, and I don't think we can criticise the 11 that are on the park whatsoever at this precise moment in time.
It's one of those situations where we get criticised an awful lot for being negative about the team and for being overly negative in situations where we should be more positive. I mean, I don't agree with that comment one bit. It's not even just a case of that those three players happen to be playing in a winning team. I think they've all contributed to it. Okay, they're not the standard of Abada is not Forrest, Montgomery is not Jota, McCarthy is not McGregor, but they've all done what's been required tonight, and they've all put their part into a performance that means we're 1-0 up against Betis, and I can't fault them for it, to be honest. I think it's been, perhaps I'm being overly positive because I was expecting such a poor performance tonight, but I've not only been pleasantly surprised, I think it's been a genuinely good performance from the team, and to reflect on Betis just now, they really are, for a team that are sitting third in La Liga, I think that says everything about La Liga, to be honest.
Definitely. Final comment before we go back and watch the second half, because I started a wee bit later because my stream that I'm watching is a couple of minutes behind. Adam says you can't fault the B team, they're giving it their best. And for me, that's all we ask for. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you at full time, and hopefully we've got a Celtic victory to talk about. Hail, hail, and up the leather.